Hello there. A couple months ago, I did a video in which I ranked every Super Bowl from the worst to the best. And the video has done really good. It's currently got, I think, like 40 plus views on my channel, which is not a bunch, but to anyone who did watch it, I haven't said it yet, but thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I had a lot of fun doing that. And another video I've had on my mind is to rank every college football championship game. And I decided, why not do it today? So I need to go over some stuff. I'm ranking every college football championship game from the 1998 season till now. And I know what you're thinking, why 98? The 98 season was the first year they implemented the BCS system. Originally, they didn't have a championship game. You can watch my video I made about it if you want to learn more about it. Yeah, that's a shameless plug, but hey, if you want to learn more about it, go watch it. And also subscribe. Or don't. I don't blame you if you wouldn't. So, I'm only doing the BCS till now. I think that's kind of the best way to do it. I'm not doing the bowl championship or the bowl lines, and I know there were a few 1 versus 2 bowl games prior to that, but it's a little tougher to gauge. So I'm only doing the official 100% confirmed national championship games. So again, that's 98 till now. And if you agree with this list, thank you very much. If you hate this list and think it's the worst thing ever, then get mad at me. So, alright, so let's get into it. There's only 26 games to rank, which is a lot less than the Super Bowls, which may be a good thing, but there's some fun games on here that I think are totally worth talking about. And for last place, and this could be a shocker to some, but for last place, I have the 2012 National Championship between Alabama and LSU. Alabama won 21-0. So why do I have this game as the worst? This game was bad. Offensively on both sides. Alabama won 21-0. They had 1 touchdown. Every point they had, except from a Trent Richardson touchdown. Yeah, Trent Richardson was a good running back, were field goals. And so the reason why I think this game is viewed negatively is it did a lot more harm than good to, I think, college football. Remember, Alabama and LSU are both in the SEC. Both these teams actually did play each other early in the year, and LSU won an exciting 9-6 overtime game. And there was a lot of people who were upset about Alabama who got in despite not winning their conference. People thought Oklahoma State should have gone in, which they probably should have. So this game, in my opinion, represented, I think if you were to look at games that represent everything wrong with college football, I think this is the one. It was a bad game that we probably shouldn't have gotten. And the next worst game, I have the 2023 National Championship with Georgia beating TCU 65-7. So TCU, they were the nice Cinderella story. No one had expectations for them. They shocked everyone. They made it to the playoffs. They beat Michigan. They made it to the championship. They were going up against Georgia, the defending champs. It was 10-7 at one point, and it was like, man, this could be a good game. It did not turn out to be a good game. Georgia was heads and toes the better team. They deserved to win this game. They absolutely destroyed TCU. And the only reason why and I'll admit, I kind of enjoyed watching this game because all I wanted to do was just see how many points Georgia could put up on these guys. And yeah, I mean, Georgia, absolutely dominated them. I will say this game will probably be a lot more remembered, mainly because of how bad it was. But again, a game that I don't know what a lot of people were expecting. I mean, I don't think really anyone thought TCU was that much better. It was better than Georgia. But yeah, this was a pretty terrible game. Next up, I have the 2013 BCS National Championship. Alabama beats Notre Dame 42-14. This was the 3rd Alabama championship under the Nick Saban dynasty. This Alabama team had a bunch of really good future NFL stars. You had, I think, Trent Richardson. Actually, no, Eddie Lacy, I think, was actually back that year. Amari Cooper was very good. And look, they had some other guys who I'm totally forgetting of. Versus Notre Dame, they were led by Manti Te'o. And this is actually a very inspiring story. His grandmother and his girlfriend both died, and they used that as motivation to get to the national championship, only to get absolutely destroyed by Alabama. Yeah, I mean, Bama was a very good team. Notre Dame played a really easy schedule. Bama was simply a better team. And also, the Manti Te'o girlfriend story turned out to be fake. Deadspin made sure that everyone must get the facts before they make an opinion. That is correct. Man, good job, Deadspin. Get all the facts before you make an opinion. I'm sure you guys even follow that law. In 23rd place, I have the 2005 National Championship, USC beating Oklahoma 55-19. Hey, why does Texas not fall into the Gulf of Mexico? because Oklahoma sucks. I'm not even a UT fan. I just like to hate on Oklahoma for no reason. This game was really one-sided. USC had their amazing offense with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, and before everyone goes, oh, the NCAA vacated this title, and then technically no one won. They won it all. Well, I don't care. And look, this USC team is one of the best of all time, and rightfully so. And there was a lot of controversy about whether or not who should have been in here. Everyone thought USC should have been, but there was like 5 undefeated teams, and people were debating did Oklahoma should have gotten in, or Auburn went also undefeated that year. Some thought they maybe should have been in. Again, it was a pretty one-sided and boring national championship game that I don't think many people really remember. Next up, I have the 2007 BCS National Championship. Florida beats Ohio State 41-14. And believe it or not, Ohio State was actually the favorites to win this game. And Florida absolutely dominated them. Chris Leak, who I think a lot of people have actually forgotten about, he was a really dang good quarterback. He was amazing in that game. Florida absolutely destroyed Ohio State, but this isn't a game in which many people remember. At number 21, I have the 2021 National Championship game. Alabama beats Ohio State 52-24. And look, this Alabama team had one of maybe the best offenses of the Nick Saban tenure. You had Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. A very good team versus Ohio State. And look, this was the COVID year. Ohio State, I think, only played like 5 conference games. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like... So, I'm not one of these put an asterisk on it, but this is a championship game I've already kind of forgotten about. It really did nothing to me. I think everybody knew Alabama was probably going to win. They were the better team, and Ohio State kind of kept it close, but eventually Alabama turned the offense on, and there was no stopping them. This was a dang good Bama team, but this is not a championship game I think of often. Next up, we have the 2019 National Championship. Clemson beating Alabama 44-16. At one point, Alabama was actually up 16-14, and all of a sudden that disappeared. Now, this Clemson team was very, very, very good. They were the first team to go 15-0. They had Trevor Lawrence, who absolutely dominated Nick Saban. Tua had a really terrible game. I think he threw a pick 6 early on. It was kind of insane. And this is actually the worst beatdown of Nick Saban's career, which it's insane to think, but this Clemson team was really good, and I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it. This was a pretty not great national championship game, honestly. But it was kind of insane watching Clemson beat Bama, especially a true freshman quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. Next up, we have the 2001 National Championship. Oklahoma beats Florida State 13-2. I have no idea if that game is scoregami, but I'm going to assume it is scoregami because it's fun. So, this game was really bad. And Florida State, Oklahoma took an intentional safety with like a minute left to go. And this game is terrible. There was no offense. Yeah, the Big 12 at one point had defense. But this is a championship game I don't think many people remember unless you're an Oklahoma fan. A pretty ugly championship game, to be honest with y'all. Next up, we have the year before, the 2000 National Championship. Florida State beats Virginia Tech 46-29. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget Virginia Tech was at one point in the national championship game, and they were really good under the legendary Frank Beamer. They were led by Michael Vick, who had a really good performance. He had an absolute dog in him and was a real fighter during this game. Don't know why I'm using those words. But Florida State, they were led by Chris Winkie, who was, I think, like 26 years old. So Florida State actually led 28-14 at halftime, but Virginia Tech made it 29-28, and then Florida State went absolutely off in the fourth quarter. Chris Winkie had an amazing game. So a closer game than the score appears, but I don't know how many people really do remember this game. I didn't really know much about this game until I did some research before this video. Okay, now we have the 2020 National Championship game between LSU and Clemson. LSU beats Clemson 42-25, and this LSU team was amazing. They had one of the best offenses I think we'll ever see. Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I mean, those guys have had great NFL careers already. And this Clemson team was also not bad. And at one point it was 17-7 and Clemson was leading by that much, but LSU eventually turned the offense on, and Joe Burrow, he had 6 total touchdowns. He was truly a special quarterback that year. They went 15-0 that year. They're one of the best college football teams of all time. I think out of all the games they played, this wasn't their hardest test for a championship. In 16th place, we have the 2015 National Championship. Ohio State beats Oregon 42-24. And this was actually the first of the college football playoff era, and it actually delivered Ohio State, who was ranked number 4, and Oregon, who was ranked number 2. And Ohio State had a very good team. They were led by a 3rd-string quarterback, and they still got into the playoffs. Wonder why that didn't work for Florida State. And look, they had Ezekiel Elliott, who absolutely ran over Oregon. Oregon had Marcus Mariota, who I think won the Heisman that year. Ohio State kind of led for most of the game. It wasn't that much of a competitive game. They were the better team, so that's really all I have to say about this game. Next up, we have the 2010 National Championship. Alabama beats Texas 37-21. This was the first of the Nick Saban Alabama titles, and this game is probably the most disappointing. Everybody knows Colt McCoy, who was an amazing quarterback, ended up having to leave the game, and there's all the debate. Would Texas had won that game if they had McCoy? I don't really know. I mean, it does hurt to lose your, Heisman contending senior quarterback in the national championship game. And Garrett Gilbert, who was the true freshman quarterback who started the game, now he had 5 turnovers, and he didn't play amazing, but you got to remember, true freshman being asked to play in the national championship against a very good Alabama defense. Mark Ingram had a really good game and absolutely ran over them. So I think out of all these games, this is probably the most disappointing. And look, Texas at one point did make it 21-24 at one point, but however, Garrett Gilbert had some turnovers late, so all in all, a pretty disappointing championship game. Next up, I have the 2008 championship. LSU beats Ohio State 38-24. And fun fact, LSU is the only 2-loss national champion. And LSU had a very good team. They won this game pretty easily. And I don't really have much to say about it, so we're just going to move on quickly. Next up, I have the 2002 National Championship. Miami beats Nebraska 37-14. And this Miami team is considered by some to be the best. I mean, we could be here all day listing the great players. Ken Dorsey, Andre Johnson, Jonathan Bilma, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow, number 2. Shoot, Sean Taylor. I can't remember some of the names, but this team was loaded. Everyone seems to think they are the best college football team of all time. And look, deservingly so. They went undefeated. They won the national championship game against a Nebraska team that maybe shouldn't have been in it, to be honest, but they won it pretty easily. They were a good team, but this game was really nothing all that great. Next up, I have the 2009 BCS Championship. Florida beats Oklahoma 24-14. Now, actually, this game, you had 2 Heisman winners going up against each other, Tim Tebow and Sam Bradford. This game did turn out to be a pretty big disappointment. Florida did lead. Tim Tebow had a very nice game. They ended up winning this game pretty easily and would win their 2nd title in 3 seasons under Meyer. Next up, we have last year's championship, 2024. Michigan beats Washington 34-13, and this game was kind of exciting. It was the first time there had not been an SEC team in the championship in almost 9 years. These were 2 teams that had never really been in the BCS or the college football playoff, and for the most part, it was an okay game. It was 20-13 at one point, but Michigan finally turned it on in the 4th. Blake Corum scored 2 touchdowns, and this was a very good Michigan team. And look, they had a lot to overcome with the suspensions of Harbaugh, but I don't think when I think great national championships, this is going to be one I think of. Up next, I have the 2004 National Championship. LSU beats Oklahoma 21-14. Now, there's a little bit of controversy, which I want to address. I do want to address something. This was a split national championship year. USC was voted by the AP poll as the national champions, despite not playing in the game, but LSU did win the championship. Did I confuse y'all? Yeah, I probably did. So this was the first of Nick Saban's 7 titles, and this is probably arguably one of the teams that I think no one really talks about because there really wasn't anything. And this game was pretty boring. It was 21-7 for most of it. In my opinion, a pretty uneventful and forgettable game that I don't think many people think of often. At number 9, I have the 1990 championship. Tennessee beats Florida State 23-16, and this game is best remembered as the T. Martin game. He was the quarterback who took over Manning, and he had a really good game. Florida State did cut it close late in the game, but Tennessee held on. All in all, Not the greatest game ever, but a good start to the BCS era. At number 8, I have the 2022 National Championship. Georgia beating Alabama 33-18. You had Stetson Bennett, a fifth-year senior, former walk-on, leading a nice win against Alabama. Georgia wins their first title in 41 years, and this was it was a bit of a defensive slugfest most of the game, but Georgia finally started to make some plays on both offense and defense. They had the pick six at the end of the game to seal the game. This is definitely going to be a game that Georgia fans are going to remember forever. And I think this game was very good to watch. Not one of my favorites ever, but a fun game nonetheless. Next up, at number 7, we have the 2016 National Championship. Alabama beats Clemson 45-40. And this was the first matchup of the Alabama-Clemson playoff games, and this game was a really good game. You had Deshaun Watson, who was absolutely doing good. He probably deserved a nice massage after this game. However, O.J. Howard and Derrick Henry absolutely went off for Alabama. Alabama actually scored 24 points in the fourth quarter to win this game. It was a high-scoring shootout. And heck, this was a very good game between two of the best teams in college football that year. At number 6, I have the 2011 championship, Auburn versus Oregon. Auburn wins 22-19, and this was an epic game. Was Michael Dyer down? He was able to get them to field goal range to win it. And this was truly the lightning in a bottle season. This was the Cam Newton year. Auburn doesn't win the championship without Cam Newton. That tells you how special he was. And I was never really a Cam Newton fan, but this season tells you, even if you're not a fan, there's no denying they would not have won the championship without him. This season was all about him. He won the Heisman, obviously. This was a great game. This was truly a kind of lightning in the bottle season. Auburn, 2 years after winning this championship, they went 3-9 and fired their coach. You don't see that often, obviously, but a truly special game. Next up, I have the 2014 BCS Championship, the last one of the BCS era, but it was a good one. Florida State beat Auburn 34-31. This is when crab legs Jameis Winston allowed Florida State to eat that W.
I'll say one thing. I want everybody to look at me. I'm going to pass it to corn after I say one thing. Let's go. That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight? How many eat a W tonight? Yeah. Come in. That's all I want.
And he delivered a great performance, throwing the final touchdown to win the game. This Florida State team was truly good. Jimbo Fisher got a title, which A&M fans would use forever to justify that he was a good coach. So, this was a great way for the BCS to go out on. At number 4, I have the 2017 National Championship game. Clemson beats Alabama 35-31. Deshaun Watson throws the game-winning touchdown pass to Hunter Renfrow basically on the final play. And I hope he got a good massage after this game, because I'm sure his body hurt. I don't know why I think he deserved a massage. I just feel like he did. So, obviously, this was a back-and-forth game. Clemson scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to win this game. This was a great championship game between two of the best college football teams of the late 2010s. I think this was a truly special game with a truly special performance by Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I think he deserved that massage after the game. In third place, I have the 2018 National Championship game. Alabama beats Georgia 26-23. This is obviously the Tua Tagovailoa game. Georgia, they were up 13-0 at halftime. Jalen Hurts had a very rough game. Nick Saban chose to bench him. And they put in Tua, and he led a comeback. The game went to overtime. Tua throws the 41-yard bomb to Devontae Smith to win it. Heck, even if someone who hates Alabama, this was a great game. And it was an absolutely bitter loss for Georgia, so does it still hurt knowing that y'all have 2 national championships now? But a great game. A really great and special game. In second place, I have the 2003 championship. Ohio State beats Miami 31-24. Miami, they were coming off their 0-1 season. They lost a few guys, but they kept a lot back. This team was really good. They were probably going to run it back, and heck, they could have had maybe the 2 best college football teams ever, because the 0-2 team was also good. Maybe not as good as 0-1, but still really good. They went up against Ohio State, who did give them a lot of trouble early on. It was 17-17 at the end of the game. Miami kicked a field goal, descended to OT. Miami would end up going up 24-17. It looks like they got a 4th down on Ohio State at the goal line, but a late flag was thrown. They called PI, and it's still today one of the most controversial and debated calls. I mean, Dan Fouts even said on the broadcast that it was a bad call, and it allowed Ohio State to tie the game to go up. And then in double OT, Ohio State would end up putting a touchdown. They would hold off Miami to win this game. This was a truly great game between two great teams. It's still talked about today. It has one of the most controversial calls ever, which some could say it sours the game, and I could see that, but I argue that's why this game is special, that we still talk about it, and it was something special. Coming up in first place, and I don't think you're surprised, but it's the 2006 National Championship game. Texas beats USC 41-38, the Vince Young game. And this game had all the hype in the world. There was no debate. We were getting the two best teams in college football. You had USC, their top offense with Linehart, Bush, and Lendale White. And then you had Texas, who was led by Vince Young. And this game was competitive. USC was up 38-26. However, Vince Young came to life. He cut it to a 5-point game. There's actually all the talk. It was 4th and 1. USC decided to go to Lendale White, who people actually forget him. He was having a great game. If USC had won that game, he would have been game MVP. He failed to get the yard. Texas would take over on downs. They were facing a 4th and 5. Vince Young got the ball. Everybody knew what was going to happen. The question was, could USC stop him? The answer to that was no.
Championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it. Vince Young scores.
Vince Young delivered what, in my opinion, is the greatest performance by a college football quarterback. This was a great game between two of the best teams ever. Heck, it was almost 20 years ago, but I think almost everyone still remembers it. I mean, this game was special. It was important. This is what great moments in college football are all about. This game was truly special, and it deserves to be the #1 game. So those are my thoughts on every college football championship game. Was this video bad? Let me know. I understand if you think it's bad, because even I'll admit, I think this video is bad. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, thank you very much. And I'll see you, I don't know, whenever. If you liked it, thank you. If not, get mad at me. Okay, goodbye.